Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Today we received two queries. Somebody writes to us, when we happen to go to some houses to attend a marriage or some work or on a friendly visit, some of them are in a very, very difficult situation. Some of them are monetary problems. Some feel that we can help them by giving them moral support, though we are really worse than all of them in everything. Most of them sometimes weep while expressing their ordeals. At that time, we pray to Papa for showing mercy to them and request them to contact Ashram for blessings to come out of the calamity. While we ourselves are too lower in a position to extend any help, are we doing right thing by asking them to contact Ashram and also praying for them with full container loads of our own problems in our hearts? What are we to do then? Tell you. Many have, why many? Most of us. Most of us are blessed with problems. Then only we will remember. But the first step in spirituality, we have been told by masters, is to know what all we have. Through our sadhana, we are reminding ourselves that it is He and He alone is behind everything. At the same time, we also should know that He keeps on testing us. So when He makes us hear or see the difficult periods through which our friends are passing, we should, as sadhakas, know that He is providing us an opportunity to rush to their help with material support if possible, or at least moral support. When we find it difficult to extend material support, we pray to Him to relieve them from stress and strain. There is nothing wrong in doing so. We remember one incident. We must have shared it, but again it is appropriate to share it again now. It must have been during one of our trips to Hyderabad, where we used to have sessions with children and teachers on value-based life, value-based education. One teacher got up and said, somebody met with an accident and the ambulance is taking the injured person who is critically ill. We are standing on the footpath. What can we do? Immediately another teacher got up and said, why not we pray? When He has provided us an opportunity to link ourselves, to unite ourselves with the suffering segment. Whatever we have, we will share. If suppose it is not possible, we can definitely pray. He is giving us an opportunity to pray for the welfare of others. Don't think that we are praying. An opportunity has been provided to us for expanding our love circle, expanding our quality, care and concern for others. Because of the dominance of me and mine, it takes the back seat. So he keeps on giving us these tests to push it from the front cell and pray to him. By praying to him, the first tangible, palpable gain is that we become subservient. We indirectly or directly recognize the supremacy of God, where we cannot do anything. When we start listing what all we have, we will not be cowed down by the play of the tricky mind, highlighting insufficiencies and inadequacies. We think, we are all suffering. How can we help? That means the insufficiency or the inadequacy is the play of the tricky mind. It can happen. In this context, most appropriate message is by Swami Chidananda Maharaj under the title, "You are unique in the eyes of God." He says, the key to blessedness lies in being aware of blessedness. If your awareness is turned in different directions towards what you don't have, or what you think or imagine you do not have, then this wrongly directed pattern of thought will make you unaware of the many things that you have. So the first thing as sadhaka is, let us not belittle. If we think we are inadequate, we are questioning him. Each one is distinct and unique in the eyes of Creator. There is none like that particular being. There is no second. So each one is precious, specially valuable to the Creator. In the eyes of God, therefore, each one is something special. This should always be remembered. No one can replace you in the role at any given point in time. You are most necessary and indispensable for that particular setup, in that particular time-space context, and therefore rejoice and be grateful to the Lord that He has given you a role to perform.
Somebody is coming with him.
We can't put the mask and talk. Whether you perform your role perfectly and in a meaningful manner or not is irrelevant. Because God expects each one to do what one is capable of at any point, at any time. God does not expect an ant to haul its great timber as the elephant does in the forest. Nor does God expect the elephant to fly gracefully in the air as do swallows and doves. He expects birds to fly. Yes?
Carry on.
He expects birds to fly and He loves them for what they do, giving diligent dignity to the forest, and He expects man to live as man. And each one in his own place, in his own sphere, can fulfill a task and gladden the heart of the Maker and contribute something on His plan on this earth. So what is highlighted upon is we don't have to belittle ourselves. Everyone need not be having the same faculty, same capability, but each one is vested with something. Thus, knowing we should have great comfort in our heart, great satisfaction and contentment That is the secret of inner joy, the key to blessedness, and the pathway to peace, serenity, and inner calm, where there is no fretting, agitation, or restlessness. You can ask Sundar. Sundar to meet them. No? You can telephone to Sundar. So we have been asked to go through this again and again and again. No? Each one is distinct and unique in the eyes of the Creator. Whether you perform your role perfectly and in a meaningful manner or not is irrelevant, because God expects each one to do what one is capable of at any point, at any time. God does not expect an ant to haul its great timber as the elephant does in the forest. So we need to remind ourselves often that He has given us the time, space, cause, material, idea, skill, chance. May we be able to thus lead a life of fullness. Let us not think that we don't have anything. When we compare ourselves, with others, we might find, yes, this is inadequate, this is insufficient, I lack this, I lack that. Like that, so many things. But when I feel what I have, what is expected of me to discharge the duties. And another question, salutation to the eternal, almighty, loving one in the form of God. In spite of the fact that it is the divine impersonal personality of yours that makes me conscious of and appreciate reality, it is not easy to reconcile with the situation when you so lovingly invited devotees to come to ashram and learned that tourist visas were no more issue. Now my heart feels at peace and most grateful, for it was a test and you made me pass and granted the feeling ashram is part of me. Please let this personality be absorbed in the impersonal, become one with it, for you only can. So here there is a beautiful quotation of Papa. He says, until the aspirant of immortality goes beyond name and form to the height of the impersonal God that dwells within him, until he tunes his mind and life to the divine symphony or movement thrilling through the cosmos, until he is freed from all limitations of thought, time and circumstances, until he beholds the entire universe as the veritable expression of his own infinite self, he cannot realize and experience the comprehensive glory and the all-absorbing splendor of the greatest truth God. Until the aspirant of immortality goes beyond name and form, the impersonal aspect. Values are impersonal. But we unknowingly attach to the person. The person represents a value, and value is impersonal. Love, compassion, sacrifice. Just take it now. Impersonal. So your loving way, touching and kindling subservience to God has been received. May He, the indwelling and all-pervading reality, bless us all to realize that stage where we accept everything as per our good. And in this connection, we also remember to have read one book called The Ultimate Gift, where the dimension is, it's a gift of everything. Gift of work, gift of money, gift of friends, gift of learning, gift of problems, gift of family, gift of laughter, gift of dreams, gift of giving, gift of gratitude, gift of the day, gift of love, and ultimate gift. So that is very important. We should know that. God has given us so many gifts. Why should we feel then we are inadequate, insufficient? This is spirituality in the day-to-day life. Each gift, we said, for example, the gift of work. He who loves his work never labors. Gift of money. Money is nothing more than a tool. It can be a force for good, a force for evil, or simply be idle. Gift of friends. It is a wealthy person indeed who calculates riches not in gold but in friends. Gift of learning. Education is a lifelong journey whose destination expands. See the interpretation. Then only we will try to accept it as a gift. Gift of problems. Problems can only be avoided by exercising good judgment. Good judgment can only be gained by experiencing life problems. Gift of family. Some people are born into wonderful families. Others have to find or create them. Being a member of a family is a priceless privilege which costs nothing but love. Gift of laughter. Laughter is good medicine for the soul. Our world is desperately in need of more such medicine. Gift of dreams, imagination. Faith is all that dreamers need to see the future. Gift of giving. The only way you can truly get more out of life for yourself is to give part of yourself away. The only way you can truly get more out of life for yourself is to give part of yourself away. Gift of gratitude. In those times when we yearn to have more in our life, we should dwell on the things we already have. In doing so, we will often find that our lives are already full to overflowing. Gift of a day. Life and its essence boils down to one day at a time, and today is the day. The gift of love. Love is a treasure for which we can never pay. The only way we keep it is to give it away. The only way we keep love is to give it away. In the end, life lived to its fullest is its own ultimate gift. So the message is that we should always become aware of what all we have, what all we have been blessed with. In our day-to-day struggles, we hardly remember what all God has blessed us with. But if we pause for a moment, we will come to know. Suppose we take a round every month or once in 3 months. Suppose we go to institutions who take care of the blind, deaf and dumb, physically handicapped, mentally handicapped, orphans, destitute. Suddenly we find, what all we have been blessed with. Many instances. That is why, whenever it's possible, we used to share with everybody. During your birthdays, during the important days, kindly try to identify some of these institutions which are nearby. Take the children also there. Make them to distribute something. They will get connected with this. Ultimately, they will come to know what they are being blessed with. And by providing them before us, God is giving us an opportunity to serve them also. So the most essential thing for a spiritual aspirant is to become aware of what all we have been provided. That's what Swami Chidananda Maharaj, he says, you are unique in the eyes of God. Never compare and contrast. Because there is no comparing and contrasting among unique things. Every little fledgling hatched from an egg is unique to its parent. So is each being unique in itself. For God is the parent of all. Therefore, rejoice that you are special to God in His infinite love. Rejoice that you have your own special place and role to perform in the creation of God. And rejoice that His love is immediately available to you. For He is not a remote reality. He is the indwelling reality, nearer to you than anything else on earth. And rejoice that within you is the peace of God, P-E-A-C, as your own self. You are God's peace, and you have a duty to perform. That is to spread this peace which you are to one and all. He has put it in a capsule form, no? P-E-A-C, not V-I-E-C. Peace. Rejoice that within you is the peace of God. As your own self. You are God's peace, and you have a duty to perform. And what is that duty? To spread this peace which you are to one and all. So the question was asked whether you can pray. Yeah. Anything that will give a soothing feeling. You know? To spread this peace which you are to one and all. So these two questions, you know, one more question was there. We have got time here. Somebody asked, you know, they have asked some questions. So what was answered was, ultimately it is His will that prevails. So then the devotee asked, what is the role of the intellect then? Intellect has gathered so many things and gives us right and wrong. How are we to be guided by it? Especially, you know, they have been asked to go through vaccines or something, to which, you know, they have their own reservations in a different country, in abroad. So we quoted Papa's words. Ultimately, we should, then he said, what should I do practically? So here again we go back. Intellect has been given to us by God only. To discriminate between what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what is to be avoided, what is to be held on, all those things. It never does. Instead of a wavering mind, the intellect gives us decisive steps. But when we are unable to take a decision based upon the intellect, then we pray. And Papa has assured us that intuition will work. When the other intellect is still in the, domain of me and mine. It has gathered so many things, no doubt about it. So it has defined what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. But when we are unable to go ahead with the decision, suppose the statute says something, whether I should go along with that. Then you close your eyes, pray. You put me in a very delicate situation. I am unable to take a different step. What am I to do? So as spiritual as well, we are not talking about anybody else. Each one can draw their own. But as spiritual as well, we have been directed to rely on intuition. Papa says reason is a help, no doubt. It is surely a more reliable guide than the fickle mind. It helps us to discriminate between the real and the unreal. But it helps us only to a limit. After a stage, it becomes a hindrance. So long as intuition has not dawned in you, you have to be guided by reason, naturally. But reason is liable to go wrong. For when reason works, the ego sense is present. But when intuition is working, ego sense is absent. So intuition guides you unerringly. Intuition is the voice of God within you. So in all matters, submission to His will is the right answer. It does not mean that we do not use our intellect, which is also provided by Him. We do the churning of the mind and intellect, and then leave it and pray to Him to guide us. Take the vaccine or not, He will guide you from within. Again she will answer. Papa's words have provided the answer. I always lived for a long time using the intuition from within. But once the unique situation came regarding so-and-so, this was a test. Definitely all may trust and faith and will perform. I know at the right time all will be revealed. It is wonder to be steeped in His joy. Papa's words have provided the answer. This is the word of it. Reason is a help, no doubt. It is surely a more reliable guide than the fickle mind. It helps us to discriminate between the real and the unreal, but it helps only up to a limit. After a stage, it becomes a hindrance. So long as intuition has not dawned in you, you have to be guided by reason. But reason is liable to go wrong. For when reason works, the ego sense is present. But when intuition is working, the ego sense is absent. So intuition guides you unerringly. Intuition is the voice of God within you. It is so subtle and subjective. So when we keep chanting Ramna, we try to concentrate on the sound. We try to concentrate that He is making us to chant. He is the mysterious power behind everything. Like that we keep on chanting. So that slowly we free ourselves from our routine thought, routine going out, the extrovertedness, everything. And then we pray and stop. Just like a flash, the answer will come. And how do we know that it is not from our own mind or it is from Him? The acid test is that it should be free from any vested interest, number one, and it should be spontaneous. It is not based on any of our previous records. You will not be able to connect it with anything. Flash, spontaneous. And at the same time, it will be free from 100%, free from vested interest. Even the subtlest level. The gross level, okay, subtlest level. So the two things today it was highlighted. One is that we should be able to rely more and more on intuition. That means for that, we should have constant remembrance. So our Nama chanting here again should help us to refine our mind. So whenever He allows it to take decisions, okay. Whenever He does not allow you to take a decision, consult the CEO inside. But we must know that the CEO is inside. Otherwise, how will we consult? So our chanting of God's name should enable us to remember Him, to remember. And the next one was we should become aware of what all He has provided us. right from growing up in the mother's womb till today, what all He has been providing us. That means we will not allow the mind to list what all we don't have. Relatively, we will become full inside. And the third one was from the impersonal to the personal. I am away from the ashram. I am away from the masters. If I feel disturbed, that means I am personal. I am attached to the personal aspect, the physical aspect. But suppose the ideal of the ashram stays with me, ideal of the Mahatma stays with me, then the ideal is impersonal. I will not miss. That is why Papa always used that mysterious word, impersonal person. It is not the person as normally we understand. It is the impersonal aspect. It will stay with us. The other one, if it is coming and going, if we are there geographically, if we are there proximity, all those things count. When it is not there, we find miserable. So, Papa always advocates this, Through the personal, get attached to the impersonal aspect. Many people in Papa's time used to say that you are this, you are that, and Papa bluntly told them, you should see Ramdas in your own heart, as the indwelling reality. So he wanted all of us to move from the personal to the impersonal. We cannot straight away go to the impersonal. So that is why we take the personal as the first stepping stone, and through that personal aspect to the impersonal aspect. A very important clue for all of us. So that through the personal aspect, we try to raise ourselves to the impersonal aspect, which will stay with us always. The other one, when we are there, we feel happy. When we are not there, we don't get inspired. It doesn't take root in us. But when I get myself riveted in the idea of the ashram, the teachings of Papa, then no matter whether I am here or whether I am anywhere else, it is stay with me. So our struggle is to get ourselves fixed in the impersonal aspect. In order that this impersonal aspect gets studied, he may create seemingly some problem outside. When we are earnestly feel that we should go there, we should meet, we should do this, we should do that. Hey, I am sitting inside you, he says, Just look within, I am there with you. So the indwelling reality is the impersonal aspect. So these are the 3-4 things today Papa wanted to highlight. Let us all try to remember it as much as possible, retain it as much as possible, assimilate as much as possible, and make it a part of our life. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Hari Om, everybody.
Hari Om.